lovers out there, are you ready for today's deep dive? We're tackling the big one. Cane Corso versus Rottweiler. Which one comes out on top? We're digging into history, we're going to talk about their little quirks, and by the end, you will be a pro at telling these breeds apart.
You know, it's amazing when you think about it. These dogs have gone from ancient battlefields to, snuggling up on the couch. Take the Cane Corso, for example. I mean, these dogs, their ancestors were literally war dogs in ancient Rome.
Wait, war dogs? Like they were out there with the legions, intimidating the enemies?
Yeah.
Yeah, I would not want to run into that on the battlefield.
No kidding. Think about that kind of bravery and that loyalty bred over centuries. And then you've got the Rottweiler. Now, their ancestors, they're less about, conquering and more about, a hard day's work around herding cattle, pulling carts, like the essential helpers for farmers and butchers.
Okay, so we've got the Roman warrior versus like the hardworking rancher. So how did those different backgrounds actually shape how they look? Because let's be real, these dogs are not exactly blending in with a crowd of Chihuahuas.
You got that right. They're definitely eye-catching. So Cane Corsos, they're like the athletes, right? Tall, muscular. Typically, you're looking at about 23.5 to 27.5 inches tall and weighing in, get this, 88 to 110 pounds.
Okay, so I'm already picturing a dog that outweighs my luggage allowance.
Yeah.
So where do where do they fall in this spectrum? Are we talking bigger, heavier?
So Rottweilers, they're a little more compact in height. They average about 22 to 27 inches. But here's the thing. They can actually be heavier, sometimes even over 130 pounds. It's all that muscle. They were bred for work.
Wow, I think I need to hit the gym if I'm going to keep up with either one of these dogs. We've talked a lot about, muscles and everything, but what about their personalities? We've got the historical warrior, we've got the dedicated worker. How does that play out, just hanging out in the living room?
Well, that's where temperament comes in, right? And this is a biggie for any dog owner, but especially for breeds like these. Cane Corsos, they are known for their absolute unwavering loyalty. They are protectors through and through.
So it's like having like a four-legged bodyguard.
Yeah.
Sign me up for that sense of security. But does that protectiveness does it ever come with like a stubborn streak?
It's a good question. And the answer is it can. Like, they love their families, don't get me wrong, but they definitely have this air of like, I got this, which, can turn into a bit of dominance if you're not careful. So early socialization, consistent training, that's key. It's like, channeling that inner Roman warrior energy into something positive.
Makes sense. You don't want to be caught off guard with a dog who thinks they're always the boss. So how does the Rottweiler personality, how does that compare? Or are they equally as, intense?
This is where we see a really cool difference. Rottweilers, they're definitely loyal to their families, no doubt, but they tend to be more sociable, more eager to please. Less about the guarding and more about, hey, let's all be friends, especially if you've got snacks.
Okay, so I'm picturing a Rottweiler greeting a stranger with like a playful nudge, whereas the Cane Corso might be a little more suspicious.
You got it. Now, that's not to say that Rottweilers aren't protective. They are. It's just their instincts, they kind of play out a little differently.
So it's like the difference between like a stern bodyguard and a friendly bouncer, both looking out for you, just with different styles. We talked a lot about brawn, but what about brains? We know both breeds are intelligent, but how does that actually look in real life?
See, and that's what makes this so cool. It's not just like how smart a dog is. It's about their type of intelligence, right? So Cane Corsos, they're like the problem solvers of the dog world. Like they excel at obedience and they can learn really complex tasks.
So are we talking like they're acing those obedience courses? What about Rottweilers? What's their intelligence style?
Rottweilers. They are the masters of adaptive intelligence. Okay, so super street smart. They can read a room like nobody's business, and they are so in tune with their owner's emotions. It's crazy.
Wow, so they're like that friend, the intuitive one that always knows when you need a pep talk or, when you need a distraction. That's incredible. But let's be real, these are some strong dogs. We can't forget about those exercise needs.
You're telling me both breeds need a good workout to be happy, to be healthy. A Cane Corso, at a minimum, needs a good 30 minutes to an hour of solid exercise every day.
Okay, so we're not talking about a quick walk around the block here. What about Rottweilers? Do they need the same amount of activity?
Actually, Rottweilers are even more demanding in that department. They thrive on at least 1 to 2 hours of exercise every single day. Think long walks, runs in the park, maybe even some agility training. They've got energy to burn.
Okay, so we're talking about a serious commitment to keeping these dogs active. Are there any surprises when it comes to their energy levels, though?
Here's a funny thing. Even though Rottweilers need a ton more outdoor exercise, They're actually known to be calmer than Cane Corsos when they're inside. They can, like, go from 100 to 0. It's amazing.
You're saying that these powerhouse pups can transform into couch potatoes? That's amazing. But with all this information, it makes you wonder, how does someone even choose between these two?
That is the ultimate question, and the answer really comes down to finding the right match for your lifestyle.
Okay, so let's say I'm listening to this and I'm fascinated by both of these breeds. What are the key things that I should be thinking about to make the best choice for me?
It really is, and it all comes down to compatibility. Like, picture this, right? You've got your Cane Corso and you're a bit of a homebody. You love just like lounging on the weekends, maybe read a book, watch some TV. But your Cane Corso, they're looking at you like, hello, we haven't explored the entire neighborhood yet. What are we doing?
That's hilarious. They're like, let's go!
Exactly. They still have that working dog in their DNA. So if you've got an active family, maybe older kids who can handle a dog who's always ready for a game of fetch, then a Cane Corso might be your perfect match.
Yeah, they need a job. They need something to do.
Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense. You wouldn't want to leave a dog with that much energy, cooped up with nowhere to go.
Yeah.
What about Rottweilers? Are they a little bit more adaptable to, different lifestyles?
They can be, yeah. And Rottweilers are like the kings and queens of go with the flow, right? They're down to hike a mountain on Saturday and then, snuggle up and watch a movie on Sunday. They're pretty adaptable.
Now, that sounds like the dream dog, honestly. But you mentioned space earlier. How important is it for these breeds, to have a yard, especially with how big they are?
It's something to think about for sure. I mean, both breeds can adapt to apartment living if you're really committed to those long walks every day and maybe like even some indoor playtime. But having a yard, it's definitely ideal, especially for Rottweilers, right? Remember those 1 to 2 hours of exercise we talked about? It's like running a 5K every day. You got to be a dedicated jogging buddy.
I am exhausted just thinking about it. Okay, so we've covered energy levels, we've talked space. What about their personalities around other dogs? So if you're somebody who, loves going to the dog park, does one breed have an edge over the other?
So this is where those instincts we talked about, they come back into play. Cane Corsos, with that protector background, they can be a little picky about their dog friends. You know what I mean? So they might not be like the best fit for a crazy dog park unless they've had a ton of socialization from when they were puppies.
Right. So it's like they'd rather have a couple of close dog friends rather than a whole, crew. What about Rottweilers? Are they like the life of the party at the dog park?
They can be. They're often more easygoing with other dogs, especially if they've been properly socialized. But it's really important to remember every dog is different, right? Just because a breed is known for being friendly doesn't mean you can like skip puppy classes and socialization outings. That's still super important.
100%. Training and socialization, it's non-negotiable. So, for someone listening, maybe they're completely captivated by both of these amazing breeds. What would you say is the most important thing for them to take away when making this decision?
I think at the end of the day, it boils down to this. Are you prepared to be the leader that these breeds need? Because both of them, they need a leader. Cane Corsos need someone who can set boundaries, but do it with love, and with consistency. Someone who's going to channel that Roman warrior spirit into, positive outlets. And Rottweilers, even though they're eager to please, they need someone who can match their energy, someone who can keep up with them, provide them with all the mental stimulation and physical exercise they need.
It's like you said at the beginning, it's all about finding that compatibility. It's not just loving the idea of the breed. It's really understanding their needs and being honest with yourself, right? Like, can you actually provide what they need?
Exactly. Bringing any dog into your life, it's a huge responsibility, right? But with these breeds especially, with large, intelligent dogs like Cane Corsos and Rottweilers, you got to be prepared. They're looking to you for everything. Guidance, companionship, adventure.
They're looking for their best friend, And honestly, who wouldn't want a loyal and intelligent and impressive dog like a Cane Corso or a Rottweiler by their side?
I mean, come on. They are incredible dogs. And in the right hands, with the right care, the right commitment, they can bring a lifetime of love and joy to a family, no question.
I mean, it really is like welcoming, a whole other level of awesome into your life, But with all that awesome comes responsibility.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
And I think that's what we've been talking about here.
You said it. We've been exploring the history, talking about temperament, energy levels, all that fun stuff. But I think, if you're listening to this, the biggest thing to remember is it's not just about picking a breed, like, oh, I like how that one looks, or, oh, I heard this about this one. You really got to think about, can I provide what this dog needs? Does this dog fit into my life?
And I think after this deep dive, I've walked away with like this newfound appreciation for both. They are powerful, intelligent, so loyal, and they deserve an owner who's, really dedicated to understanding them and appreciating their unique personalities.
Couldn't have said it better myself. And maybe a final thought as you're kind of thinking this through, is a Cane Corso right for me? Is a Rottweiler right for me? Ask yourself, am I ready? Like, am I really ready to embrace the adventure, the commitment, and the bond that comes with having one of these incredible dogs in my life?
Because that's what it comes down to, right? It's about finding a companion, a partner in crime, a furry friend who's going to, rock your world. They're going to enrich your life in ways you didn't even know were possible. So as you're, weighing those pros and cons, thinking about all this, just remember the most rewarding choice is the one that brings, a lifetime of happiness to both you and your new best friend.
Here's to lots of happy adventures with your pups.